touching the lives of local people every day.
Welcome back, this is Business Extra. Tonight we're taking a look at the Norfolk Chamber of Commerce's quarterly economic survey. It's a way of picking up the mood of Norfolk's business community. Who's doing well, how are orders looking, and who's looking to employ more staff, that kind of thing. I'll speak to my guests in just a moment, but first let's catch up on the business headlines for the week.
Thanks, Neil. Well, let's start with the Norfolk-based fishing business that's floating on the stock exchange. Angling Direct was founded with just one shop in Wroxham in 1986, but now has a whole network, a distribution centre in Rackheath and a thriving web business too, with a £21 million turnover every year. The initial public offering should help generate extra funds, which will be put into new shops and expanding web operations. One of Norfolk's best-known car dealerships is changing hands after nearly a century of family ownership. Dingles has dealerships in Norwich, Attleborough and down in Lowestoft and has been sold to St Leonard's Motor Group from Sussex. Dingles was first established back in 1919. Looking at the job market next, and a new report suggesting the number of jobs in our region is staying stable, but the number of candidates is falling. Recruitment company Cooper Lomas have published their Salary Survey 2017, and they say that the biggest challenge is the lack of candidates, as the market's full of people who aren't moving on to new jobs. And finally, the Norwich firm Oyster Travel has expanded for the third time since opening in 2009. The travel agents in Old Catton have grown their office space by 50% since they first started, and despite the increase of internet bookings for holidays, they've been achieving growth of 8% year on year.
Thank you very much indeed. Right, let's get back to the Norfolk Chamber of Commerce quarterly economic survey, looking at the second part of 2017. My guests tonight are Jonathan Cage, President of the Norfolk Chamber and MD of Create Consulting Engineers. Also with us is Greg Rowe, Director of Tap Manufacturers Greg Rowe Limited, and Sarah West, Managing Director of Full Mix Marketing. You're all very welcome indeed. Good evening. All right, we'll start, Jonathan, with the actual basis of this survey. For people who don't know, what is it and how does it work?
Well, the quarterly economic survey is held by the Chamber quarterly. It's one of the biggest...
It's a giveaway in the name, really.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's one of the biggest business surveys in the country. It's on a national basis, but we have figures which are reported for Norfolk, so we can see ourselves in trends against the national situation, and it covers things like manufacturing, service industry, and all sorts of different factors. So, yeah.
Because what's the value in actually looking into those figures?
Well, because it's actually from real businesses, which actually a lot of the other surveys aren't, and therefore it's people projecting. This is actually managing directors and key people in business organisations and their real feelings of what confidence they feel, and actually often they give you real data as well. There's no need to make the data up in this because it's actually confidential. Nobody knows who's put the responses in. So that's very useful information. And then actually a lot of economists and business planners and central government use the results of this to look at how the industries and basically the economy is going. So it's very strong, very powerful bit of information.
Now, I'm not going to test you on exact figures, but let's look at what's the general mood? What are the main things coming out of the survey?
Well, it's been a frightening quarter. We've had some quite significant political events happen in the last few months, and clearly that has knocked confidence. There's been a slight downturn in sales and future sort of staff projections as well. But it's interesting on some of the services, it does look like people are seeing further forward, and they are still sort of projecting incomes increases in profitability, which is surprising at the moment, but they are, and sales as well. They do sort of think that there is a mix of review depending if you're manufacturing or services on what they think the future sales is like. So it's not as bad as what I could have imagined it would be,
but
it's still not going really in the right way. I don't think.
Well, Sarah, I'll start with you. I guess a lot of companies, if times are tight or things are a bit confused, things like PR and marketing can be sometimes the first thing they look to lose. Is that a fair reflection? How have you seen things?
I think it's a fair reflection, yes, and I think also that whilst they lose that, they do look towards marketing companies and PR companies to help them grow. So when times are uncertain, as they are at the moment, they do tend to engage with external agencies to actually help them grow through marketing.
Or to make the most of what they've got already.
Yes, and promote it out there. So they tend to want to see more sales come through, so they need additional help in maybe some of the messaging that are out there to be able to make the most of the situation. And I think the survey, as we've seen, there is a slight dip in confidence out there. I think last year we had Brexit. I think it went very quickly back to business as normal because they didn't see anything, and then with the election coming up and then happening, I think there is now a little bit of uncertainty. But I do think the future is positive, and I think people are embracing using external agencies and trying to look towards the future. And some of the staffing in the survey actually said that they're looking to invest in training, which often is a sign of looking at productivity and profitability within businesses.
Well, that's encouraging. Well, Greg, we'll come to you. You work in a very specific area, I suppose, when it comes to the manufacture of taps. Very some ingenious things there. But how's the order book looking? How are things looking?
Well, it is picking up on what Sarah says there, that certainly orders for us have levelled really so far this year, so I wouldn't say anything's really dropped. I think really what's starting to happen is there's a crystallisation of what people had really feared. When they were getting uncertain, they were starting to make certain predictions that costs might rise, that the exchange rate perhaps would maybe bounce back, maybe not. But I think now what's starting to set in is that people are, if there is any certainty, it's certainty that we're in for a bumpy ride for the next couple of years. But although inflation's going up, so I guess that's going to mean higher employment costs, and that gets tougher against levelling order books. Companies are not spending so much on capital investment, but I picked up, as Sarah did, that what they are doing is internalising things a little bit more, which is a good sign, because it means they're going to make the most of what they have, and that's retraining in with their staff, looking at new technology, more marketing, and squeezing a little bit more out of the products that they have and the opportunities that they have.
Because when times are uncertain for a business such as you're involved in, it's in some elements it's a luxury, so having some of these things. How do you keep that to the forefront of people's minds to frankly keep the orders coming in?
Well, certainly our approach is to try and get a new slant on what you're already doing. We're very much innovators, so we're always trying to develop new products, and we're quite lucky in a sense that we're still in a product development cycle. So R&D that we committed to a couple of years ago now is starting to come to fruition. So we've got something new to bring to the market and something new to talk about, but that can still be done with what you already have if you look carefully enough at your opportunities, who your target market is. There's technology available now, of course, as well, so you can get to different customers perhaps that you couldn't reach before, and look at different ways of servicing your target market. So that all is not lost in that sense. There's something more to go for.
And Sarah, we are running out of time slightly, but for you and the different people you work with, are you encouraged they are still looking ahead and being positive?
Yes, I do think they are looking ahead. I definitely think they're positive. I think that this survey, obviously when people filled it in, it was on the back of just having an election and maybe a shock to some of them, and it brought some of the issues back into the forefront of their minds. I think that in the next quarter you might see some different, more positive results.
Okay, well, Jonathan, Greg, Sarah, thank you very much indeed. That is all the time we've got for tonight. But do remember to drop us a line with your thoughts and your business stories too. You can find us on Twitter at Mustard TV, or by emailing news@mustardtv.co.uk. And of course, you can get our latest updates by subscribing to our YouTube channel, Norfolk Now too. Business Extra back same time next week. But for now, my thanks to Jonathan, Greg and Sarah, and to you for watching. Have a very good night.
Source, touching the lives of local people every day.